I walked into the city event hall alone, each footstep echoing against polished marble floors, conscious of every turn of head and flicker of light on sequin gowns. The cavernous room pulsed with champagne-hued laughter and the clink of crystal, glasses. Tall pillars cast long shadows, and overhead chandeliers glowed like suspended galaxies. I paused at the threshold, the murmur of voices pinning me in place for a heartbeat that stretched seconds into an eternity. My chest tightened, and I felt my pulse thrum in my ears, loud enough to drown out the soft strains of a string quartet tucked into a corner alcove. Yet I did not retreat. I could not. I had rehearsed this entrance a dozen times. How to stand tall. How to let my gaze drift confidently over the crowd without betraying the swarm of doubts coiling in my gut. I inhaled the scent of roses mixed with expensive cologne and wove through clusters of well-heeled guests. Silk and satin brushed my shoulders as I passed. Polite nods and murmured congratulations flickered around me. I let them roll off my back like water from a stone. Tonight, I told myself, I would own my silence and let it speak louder than any apology or excuse. My ex-wife, Raina, waited near the champagne tower, a spiraling monument of fluted glasses precariously balanced like a crystalline helix. Her hair, the same dark waves I once traced with my fingertips, cascaded perfectly over her shoulders. Beside her stood Chase, Mr. Perfect Haircut, his smile gleaming as brightly as the polished cufflinks on his tailored tuxedo. Beneath the soft glow of the tower's lights, they were an image of flawless partnership. I swallowed past the tight knot in my throat and took a steadying breath. The hush before her words was deafening. Even the soft pop of a cork somewhere across the room seemed to hush in anticipation. Then I heard it. The tilt and draw in her voice as she turned to Chase and delivered the line I had never imagined could sting so sharply in public. He couldn't even find a date. The words tumbled out deliberate and clinical, as if she'd measured, each one against a ruler for maximum impact. And then the laughter followed. Their kind of laughter, the smug, venom-laced kind that bit and twisted. I could almost taste its rancid tang on my tongue. Around me, glasses paused mid-air and conversation stuttered out before resuming in whispers. I felt their eyes shift onto me, a dozen pairs of curiosity burning holes in my suit jacket. The echo of that laughter curled around my ankles like smoke, tugging me down. Still, I stood rooted, refusing to let the embers ignite a collapse. My face remained impassive, an unbroken mask that betrayed nothing. I felt the weight of every guest's gaze as if they expected me to crumble, to stumble back through those doors in shame. Inside, though, everything wavered. My heart hammered so hard I wondered if it would breach my ribs. My lungs constricted, each breath shallow and metallic. Memories flooded me unbidden. The day we first danced under a sky of string lights in this very room, her laughter bright and full of promise. The night we toasted our future at that same champagne tower, toasts echoing up to the vaulted ceiling. In that moment, it felt like we were the universe's chosen couple. Brilliant, bound by love, unstoppable. Now, the same space felt like a war zone, the grandeur of it mocking me. I inhaled again, pressing my palms into the pockets of my trousers until my nails bit into my skin, reminding me I still existed. I refused to let shock claim my expression. Not here. Not now. I lifted my chin and let my gaze sweep across the crowd, meeting the eyes of old friends who offered sympathetic half-smiles. A waiter drifted past, offering a flute of champagne. I declined with a tight-lipped smile. The bubbles would have washed over my tongue like every other false comfort offered tonight, hollow, fizzing, and gone in an instant. Raina's lips curved into a triumphant smirk as she clocked my immobility. I could almost hear her internal monologue. Look how rattled he is. But I remained still, a statue carved from self-control. I would not grant her that victory. Yet beneath my calm exterior, a fuse had been lit. One I hadn't even known waited in the darkness of my chest. It glowed, heated and urgent, threatening an explosion of feeling I had long kept trapped behind carefully rehearsed restraint. My gaze flickered to her new husband, Chase, whose laughter still lingered in the air. He raised his glass in a silent salute to my stunned silence. His perfect haircut caught the light, each strand in place as though sculpted by intention. I wondered for a split second how many times he'd rehearsed this moment in his head. But that thought sparked something colder within me. I didn't flinch, not outwardly, not when the sharp edge of her cruelty slid through the room like a dagger. But inside, every nerve ending felt alive with the tension I'd spent months burying under routines and work deadlines. I knew I could retreat. I could slip away into the crowd, disappear down a side corridor, or slip out the back door into the cool night air. But as I stood there, the heat of embarrassment and anger combined into a molten resolve. I would not vanish tonight. I would not afford her the satisfaction of watching me run. I would own this moment, and whatever came next, because every time I retreated in the past, I lost a little more of myself. So I let the laughter wash over me. I let the stares press against my skin. I stood in the center of that grand hall and felt the fuse burn, not with shame, but with a longing for something stronger than the bonds that had once held me captive. The fuse glowed bright, fueled by every slight and every hidden jab, and, as the laughter faded into murmurs, and everyone returned to hors d'oeuvres and small talk, I finally allowed myself to feel the heat of that moment. It burned down to my bones, lighting a way forward I didn't yet understand, but that I would follow. It lit a fuse I didn't even know was waiting to burn. This was the same venue where Raina and I once celebrated our anniversary. 2 years. Into what I'd called, with a grin and a shot of whiskey, the best mistake of my life. I remembered that night. Candlelight, champagne that tasted like warm metal. Her dress, a perfect slice of navy that brushed her ankles like a lover's kiss. I danced with her then, my hand on her waist, our laughter colliding in the dark corners of the room where no one could hear the truth trembling in our hearts. Now, though, the same venue smelled like old money and newer betrayal. And I stood, there alone, a living footnote